My name is Aaron Glossop. Most of the time I'm hosting these webinars, so if this is your first time, welcome. If it's your second, third or whatever time, thanks for coming back. Today we're going to have a bit of a chat and a walk through exactly how to submit a long service leave claim form via the worker portal, so the new online claims process. That went live last Monday, the Monday before just gone, the 13th of April. And to support the new online process, we've developed a information sheet and a thorough video walkthrough, which I've pinned to the chat on today's webinar. So if you want to go in and have a look at those at some point in time, you can. Alternatively, if you want to pay full attention to Mandy and I today, you can have a look at those links via our website at any time. Before we get too further into today, I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. Today I'm on Kaurna land, and I pay my respects to the Kaurna people and also pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us today. Today, as I said, we're going to walk through knowing exactly what to expect and how to use a new system. We're going to cover just a bit of a recap on some of the key dates for any people that aren't aware. We'll go through the online claims process kind of in a step-by-step way. And then we'll have some time for any additional information and questions at the end. Just on the questions, whilst I'm doing all the talking, Mandy's doing all the typing. So if you have any questions in the meantime, just chuck them in the chat. Mandy will be able to respond to you as we're going through the slides. And if anyone's feeling super brave, put your hand up at the end of the session and we'll get to your questions and you can ask them so everyone else can hear them. So just to start with the big picture around the timeline, as you should know, if you don't, the scheme started on the 1st of October last year. We have just exited our second quarterly period, which was the 1st of January to the 31st of March. The return for that period and the levy payment for that period was due on the 21st of April, so on Tuesday, just gone. And today, obviously, the conversation we'll have today is about the long service leave claims, and that went live on the 13th of April 2026. So now that we've got everything in motion, we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about why we've made this change. So essentially, the change has been made to make the process a lot more easier to use and easier to track. It allows, I guess, the worker to undertake the process online at any time or from anywhere. It means that you don't have to be printing any forms off and getting your employer to sign them and submitting them via email. So we hope that that's going to save a whole lot of time. What I would say, if for anyone that does have any issues with undertaking anything online, so through this process in particular, if you have got some issues with using a computer or there's a misunderstanding, just let us know. We might be able to sort out completing this form in another way, but just let us know if you have any issues in that space. So again, this hopefully will make everyone's lives a lot easier. The process essentially is the worker completes what they want to complete, and we'll go into detail about that. It then electronically goes to the employer for them to do what they need to do. And once that's all submitted with all the required documentation, the team here will process the claim and provide live updates through the worker portal. So before the claim process is started, by the worker. It's really important that the worker has some information to hand as they're going through the claims process. What we would suggest is the person undertaking the claim has the worker portal log on, which is pretty important to be able to log on the system. You'll go through a authentication process, which I believe we've made a lot simpler from when it first came out. You'll need, well, you won't need, but we would suggest you have your tax file number on hand. That essentially allows you to be taxed at the appropriate rate instead of the highest rate if you don't provide it. Very importantly, your bank details, because that's where your payment is going to go, or the worker's payment is going to go to. So things like your account name, the correct account name, and the bank details are really important as well. And we'll go through that a little bit more detail in a few slides from now. The other thing is that if you have any supporting documentation that you think is important for us to be aware of, it could be things like a copy of a payslip or just something that you think that we and the team here need when they're assessing the claim. I just want to touch on and be really, really clear on the the long service leave process. So when we talk about long service leave, and this is no different to when people were accruing long service leave under the previous method through the State Act. It's really important to understand that 1 week of long service leave is seven calendar days. So long service leave is based on calendar days. It's not a Monday to Friday thing. It's not you only work on a Tuesday and Wednesday type thing. It's essentially is if you want a week off, even if you work 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or 4 days a week, or a 9-day fortnight, you ask for 1 week of long service leave will mean that you'll be claiming 7 calendar days of leave. So it's really important that that's understood. Mandy, did you want to jump in there at any point?
I do want to jump in. I can't see your slides. Can anyone else see the slides? I mean, it's lovely to see your face, Aaron, but I feel like the slides would be better.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, Mandy. Bear with me while I fix that up. You know, it's important to recognize that I haven't been doing, well, actually I have been doing this quite a long time. And there's the slides. And it looks like what's happened is I've overlooked the fact that I should share my screen.
That's way better. Thanks, Aaron.
My apologies to everyone. You haven't missed anything when it comes to the slides. I'll just go back to show you where we started. So that essentially was the key dates page, just overseeing, just talking about those scheme start dates and the reporting timeframes, the why we have made this change slides, and essentially just talking about the reason why we've made this change and making it easier for the worker and the employer to undertake the process. And that key information that everyone needs up front, the worker portal login, the TFN and the bank details. And then importantly, I thought Mandy was going to tell me that I'd got the calendar days thing wrong, but that's good. It was just essentially me being an idiot and not sharing my screen. So thank you for that. So just going back to where we stopped, just to remember that 1 week of long service leave is based on calendar days. So if you work 2 days a week, a Monday and a Wednesday for both days a weeks, and you want to take long service leave for those 2 weeks that you would work, in fact, you'll be requesting 14 days of long service leave, not just the 4 days that that person would normally work. And again, just to reiterate, that is no different to what any request would have been under the previous method, under the State Long Service Leave Act as well. So now my screen is being shared. It's really important that we get to step 1, and this is what a worker would see when they first log on. So this is the log on page. The worker would obviously enter their logon details. What we've found since introducing the new process is that with the past method, the manual method, the worker didn't necessarily need to log on to their worker portal, and the employer would help them through the claims process. But now that we're asking people to do it online, workers need to log on, and for the first time, sometimes people, well, they haven't done it in the past, so this will be the first time they've logged on. Even though they would have been sent a link when they were first registered, that would have expired by now. So we're seeing that a lot of new requests coming through for new links to access the worker portal. So if that's you, don't stress. Our team will be able to provide a new link to the worker portal for you to log on. And then there'll be some additional security checks around that authentication process. And that essentially is to protect your data and protect your private information. And that's undertaken through an authenticator app, and that we recommend you using either the Google Authenticator or the Microsoft Authenticator. I'm sure Mandy is the same as me, but I have to use an authenticator every day for logging into my work. It can be a pain in the you-know-where, but it is essential to protect my data just as well as everyone else's data as well. Once the worker has logged on, once the worker has completed the reCAPTCHA down the bottom and the authentication process, I'll get to this page, which is essentially their dashboard. This is the home base for, as you first log on, you'll see this page. And what you can see on this page in the green boxes, it's important to understand this, in the green boxes is your portable long service leave accruals and your balances only. This won't reflect any pre-scheme service that we're waiting on or have received. That can be found in a different part of this worker portal. But what I understand, and Mandy can confirm, that we're working on a update to the system where a long service leave state accrual balance will be shown on this dashboard at some point in time.
Yeah, I might just jump in there. So at the moment, the fastest way for workers to see what entitlements they can claim is by going to the forms menu and clicking on the long service leave claim form, which Aaron will show you in a minute. And then that will show the worker per employer how much long service leave they can accrue, they can claim that was accrued before the scheme started. We are working on a screen to be able to display that for the workers in the portal, but because about 15% of the workforce has multiple jobs, it's been quite challenging to find a meaningful way to display that information, which is why it's a bit delayed at the moment. But it's in testing at the moment, so hopefully it won't be too much longer before it's released.
The important thing to be aware of is that if we have the state long service leave returned from the employer, advising of the workers' long service leave or state long service leave balances, they are or should be in the system or close to being added to the system. So if you see any discrepancies or you're a little bit unsure as to why, you've worked for 50 years and your balances aren't showing, and you're a bit unsure as to why, that's one of the reasons, or, feel free to give us a call and just check in on us, check in with us about that. Essentially, if everything looks right, or even if you're a little bit unsure about the balances, we'll talk you through what the next steps are anyways, and you can always talk to our customer service team about what that means. So starting the actual claim form, it's pretty straightforward. If you go to the forms tab at the top and you select it, you'll come up with these 4 options. What we're talking about today is a long service leave claim. So you would select that. Make sure that you are selecting that and not doing something different. We do see that, because this is a new system, people are still trying to navigate their way around things, and sometimes they make a little bit of an error and select the wrong thing. So just make sure that you select long service leave claim, and then that takes you to the next step, which gives you the option to select what type of claim type you want to take. So we'll start off on the long service leave claim that's highlighted on your screen now. We'll talk about the other types towards the end, but this long service leave claim is when a worker wants to take some time off from work. So they want to go on a holiday, or they've want to spend a bit of time obviously with family or doing something else, and they actually want to take a holiday and take some time away from work. So this is what this claim type is. We'll go through the cash out and the termination payment a bit later, but make sure you're selecting the correct claim type. If you was to choose the wrong claim type, it simply just adds a little bit of time to the processing timeframes, and we will need to obviously re-establish the correct claim type and go through that process. So it does actually add a little bit of time and a delay to the process. So once you selected the long service leave claim, because you want to take a holiday and take that long awaited holiday with your family, you would be shown this page, which is essentially about if you are eligible to take long service leave or not. So this predominantly talks about the standard long service leave timeframe accruals, but it does ask you whether or not your organisation that you're taking leave from has an enterprise agreement that would allow you to take leave earlier than the standard requirements. If your organisation does have an enterprise agreement that allows you to take long service leave, say after 5 years or something's earlier than what's standard, you would select yes. And then it would prompt another box that you would need to provide us with what the enterprise agreement is called. Now, I understand that a lot of workers might not actually know what the agreement is called. So what we would suggest in that space is to have a quick chat to your team, your employer, your HR team, or your payroll team, just to find out what it's called and just enter it based on what they've provided you. You don't need to provide the actual document itself. It's just that we'll need to know what the form is called so we can actually look up the details when we're assessing the claim. The next one is needs a bit of clarity, because it does ask you if you've been employed with your current employer for more than 7 years. This can be a little bit confusing, particularly over the transition period, which was the 1st of October last year from the State Long Service Leave Act through to the Portable Long Service Leave Act. During that transition, if you had been employed for more than 7 years and you were bringing over some state long service leave accruals, but say hypothetically you've resigned and moved on from that employer in the last few months and started with a new employer, you would still have some long service leave to take. So you would select yes, even though you may have only just started with a new employer. So that question essentially, like I said, just refers to the transition period on the 1st of October. So if you do have that time accrued to take long service leave, you would select yes at that point in time. Importantly, and not surprisingly, if you chose no, the system will stop the processing or stop you from proceeding from that point onwards, and you won't be able to do any more than that at all. So just understand that clarity around that question. It can be misunderstood, and we're working on maybe looking at changing that question around how it's been asked. But again, if you just take a moment to think that that question refers to the transition period and you have that accrual available, you would select yes. Tax time. As I said at the earlier on, you don't have to provide us with your tax file number if you choose not to. So this page is not mandatory. We just want to make it absolutely clear that if a tax file number is not provided, the worker will be taxed at the highest rate. I think it's 47%. I'm not very good at when it comes to tax like that, but that's what I believe it is. So our recommendation is that you do enter it, so you are taxed at the correct rate. The other part of this page is just to talk about your residency status for those taxation purposes. And it's a simple yes, no question most of the time. Obviously, if you're working, you do have Australian residency to be able to work in Australia. So make sure you're entering all those details correctly. Again, any errors with your tax file number, if it's incorrect and it doesn't show up correctly, it will delay the claim itself. All right, so once we're through all that bit of detail and that those requirements, we get to the point where this page is where under employer details is where all your state long service leave balances are maintained. There is a little question mark next to this title, which you can read a lot of help text about. So if you have one employer, this is where your balances would be kept for your pre-scheme service. If you have multiple employers, you'll have one of these for each of them. It's really important to understand that this is for your pre-scheme service that you would have accrued or workers accrued prior to the portable long service leave scheme starting. And this data is captured via the state long service leave return that we've asked for. I think back in February, I think we first initially asked for, which we would have received and updated our system to reflect what those balances are. So what we would do at this point in time is if you wanted to take leave from this employer or your employer, this one, that you do have enough balance available, you would go through this page and select an answer to a salary sacrifice arrangement question. So what we're hearing is a lot of workers do have salary sacrifice arrangements. So if you do, you would select yes. And the process that we follow is that if you do select yes, we would withhold that amount, which you do advise us of, and we would send that back to the employer to manage like they would normally manage with your salary sacrifice provider. So it's really important for you to acknowledge that you do have a salary sacrifice arrangement and you do want an amount paid to your worker. So you would select yes on both of those tabs, and then you would advise us of that amount that you want sent back to the employer to then proceed with their standard process of sending that on to the salary sacrifice provider. What I would also make you aware of is the two boxes or the calendar boxes down the bottom is when you want to take leave. So essentially is I want to take leave from that date, the first day of leave, and my last day of leave will be that. So it's really important that we talked about this a little bit earlier around calendar days. So whatever period of time that is that you want to take leave, it'll self-calculate or generate the days of leave on the form for you to understand. So it's a pretty simple page to complete, but there is a lot of complexity around understanding what this section is and making sure that people understand that this is reflective of your pre-scheme balances. One thing I would make you aware of is if we haven't received the state long service leave return from your employer, it's unlikely that we'll be able to capture the balances on this page for you to know what your balance is. And we're working on getting that data from those employers hopefully by the end of this month. So we've reached out to as many as we can to make sure that they do submit that form and do submit that data. So you have all of your balances updated, you have all of your balances correct, and there's no confusion. The next, oh, sorry, I will just confirm before I move on to the next page that I know you're probably aware, but if you aren't, the minimum amount of claim is 1 week. Long service leave can be a minimum of 7 days. Once it's past the minimum of a week, it can be 8 days, it can be 9 days, it can be 14 days, but it has to be a minimum of 1 week, and that's 7 calendar days. And your requested dates must match the total calendar days you are claiming. The next section is, this is where your portable long service leave comes into effect and what you want to claim from a portable perspective. Now we're only 7 months into the new scheme, so not everyone would have a huge balance when it comes to portable long service leave. So this will show on the claim form separate to your state long service leave balances. I just want to make people aware that if they are claiming a state long service leave, some state long service leave, they don't need to duplicate that into this section. So it's one or the other, unless you want to claim both. So unless you want to claim a state long service leave portion, and then consecutively you want to add on some portable long service leave. So you don't need to duplicate it if it's the same dates between the state long service leave balance and the portable long service leave balance. You just need to do the one, unless you want to claim both, and those both have to be consecutive as well. So what I would get you to do when you're on this page as well is just to have a look at the estimated rate of pay, which is showing on the right-hand side at the top of this screenshot. Just want workers to make sure that they look at that and make sure it's correct from their perspective. That's the data that we get from your employer. If you think it's wrong, I would suggest you go back to your employer just to have a bit of a chat about why you think so, and then if it needs to be updated, they can request that through us. Also, just making sure that if you are claiming portable leave as well, that you have those dates entered, the first day of leave and the last day of leave. And feel like I am a broken record, but they do need to be consecutive. Simply, if you're not claiming any portable long service leave at all, and it's only state long service leave, you can skip this. You don't need to enter anything in this section at all. Next is how often you want to be paid when it comes to taking long service leave when it comes to a holiday. Simply, you would have the option of choosing a single payment, so a lump sum payment, or you can break it up into weekly payments or fortnightly payments or so forth. This might be helpful for those that like to marry it up with their normal pay cycles. Again, it's pretty self-explanatory, and this is the only claim type that allows multiple options when it comes to payments. The other claim types only have a bulk or a single payment option. So essentially, you really got to pick what suits you from from your lifestyle or cash flow perspective. It's pretty easy to work your way through that one. The next step is, this is where you're going to get paid. So importantly, your account number, your BSB, your account name, and your bank. And there's some things that do trip people up here, and I alluded to that at the start of today, was that some people put in their account name incorrectly. So what we've seen as examples to date is people might put their nickname for their account in this section. They might put, it might be called a check account, so they call it a check account in this system. So what we need you to do is make sure that the account name is the legal name as the bank has it. So in my case, it would be Aaron Glossop. Please don't take any money from my account, but it would be Aaron Glossop in the account name and whatever BSB and account number that my bank reflects. If the account name is wrong, what we've seen again is the bank will reject our payment and it bounces back to us. And obviously that creates a bit of a delay in getting your money to you. We do offer a BSB search function. So if you do need a little bit of help in this space because you don't know what the details are, you can click on the BSB search function. You can search by what your bank, which bank it is. So you're under financial institution, and in this example, you can see that the Commonwealth Bank has been found, and there's the BSB number for the Commonwealth Bank, and all you need to do is select that, and it automatically fills or pre-populates into that page for you. I guess that this way it saves a little bit of issue when it comes to typos, or hopefully a little bit of time as well. Essentially, the next step is not mandatory. This is optional. This section can be left blank. Many people do leave it blank, which is absolutely fine. Some people like to pass on a little bit of additional information about their claim as well. They might want to share some information about, say, their payment arrangements, or additional information about what they're doing. So just so when we're processing the claim, we can take into account these comments and do what we need to do with it. So we're almost done. So what we would do, if you had anything to add here, you would add it in and then select the next button. And we come to just this declaration and the submit section. You can automatically sign it by selecting the declaration sign bit, and that would generate a date signed calendar date, and you would submit the claim. What we've been sharing with people up until this point is that you've done what you have to do right now once you've submitted it. The next steps are it goes to the employer to complete their steps, which there isn't a great deal of work to do. We'll go through that in a minute, but there is a time framing process around getting these actioned, and we're telling everyone at this point in time there's a 3-week processing time, which allows us to review and assess and arrange payment to your bank, and also dealing with the huge amount of claims that we've got at this point in time. So just be patient with us, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. But we are suggesting that there's about a 3-week turnaround time at this point in time. So well done. You've now submitted your long service leave claim. This is what happens next. Essentially, is that the portal will generate an instant message or a notification to the employer that you're claiming long service leave from. That'll be done via an email through the system. They will look at the claim request, and again, we hope that the worker has already had a conversation, or the employer is aware that the worker is claiming for leave. So it should be pretty easy to do from an employer perspective. The employer will need to look at the claim request and do some simple entries, and those entries essentially are the current average weekly hours that the worker has worked, and they'll enter the hourly rate at the claim date for the worker. The important part there is the claim date. If a worker is claiming long service leave from the pre-scheme service, the state long service leave scheme, the state long service leave method, what we're seeing, some employers are entering the 30th of September date where for the hourly rate, which is not correct. It has to be the hourly rate at the claim date, not the 30th of September. So just make sure you note that. The employer will track everything in their employer portal. The other bit of information that the employer may be requested for is if there is that salary sacrifice arrangement. So if the worker has selected that there is, and they would like that amount sent back to the employer, the employer will need to enter their bank details at their approval stage and confirm that arrangement will take place. We know that everyone's busy, and especially we're getting busier towards the end of financial year as well. So we know that these automated emails will come through to the employers for their approval and their actioning. We know that you probably won't be able to get to them on the same day. If you do, great. If you don't, we'll just request that you try and action it as soon as you possibly can. When I referred earlier to the 3-week processing time, that 3 weeks starts as soon as you have submitted what you need to submit, and all of the documentation and all of the evidence that we need has been provided. So the 3-week timeframe doesn't start once the worker has submitted the claim. It only starts once the employer has completed everything that they need to complete and approved it. So hopefully you get to the point where you've entered that data, that those average weekly hours and the hourly rate at claim date and any of those salary sacrifice requirements, and you've approved it. That's the end of what the employer needs to do. What happens then is the claim is tracked through the worker portal in live form, so they can see exactly what stage it's at live in their worker portal. Just to move on real briefly around those other 2 types of claims that we had listed in that drop-down box. They both were a cash out claim, and that's when someone decides that they want some cash instead of taking a holiday, which we wouldn't recommend. Everyone needs a holiday, but if they want to take a cash out in lieu of taking that holiday, you can choose that option. It's a similar form, but there's no leave dates. We just need to know what days the worker wants to cash out and their preferred payment date, and we'll absolutely try and make sure that that happens. We process payroll amounts and payroll transactions on a Wednesday each week. So it's midweek. If that should align fairly closely with obviously what everyone else's cycles are, but if there's any change or any discussion on that, just let us know. I don't believe we have any other options to pay on any other date of the week, but thank you, Mandy, for that little shake of your head. But yeah, so if you've got any concerns or any issues, just reach out and let us know. The other claim type is a termination payment. Essentially, that is if a worker is leaving the community services sector completely and they want to claim their balance as a single payout. We don't need any dates. We just need to know your last date of your work within the sector. We can't process the claim until you have left the sector completely. What we'll do from that point in time, we'll gather all the information. We'll calculate the entitlements based on your last work day. So it might take a few extra days, but we'll aim to maintain that processing time frame and hopefully even get it organised a little bit early if we have the ability to do so. So really important, like I said earlier on, that you do select the correct claim that you want to claim. Either you're taking a holiday or you want to cash out some time in lieu of a holiday, or you're leaving the sector altogether. Just a key reminder around the 7-day week basis. I won't spend too much more time on this slide because I know you've all heard it 100 times from me already, but just want to make it absolutely clear that 1 week is 7 days, 2 weeks is 14 days, 4 weeks is 28 days, and so forth. So for long service leave, you make even if you do work the 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but you want that week off, it is a full 7-day week request. We do see some common mistakes in this space and a little bit of misunderstanding, so we're doing our best to share this information with people, and that's why I do bang on about this a little bit more than I should or would normally do, but just to make sure that you get your dates correct and you understand why it's a 14-day for if you want 2 weeks off and so forth. Like we have for all of our long service leave requirements, we have a whole lot of support that's available. Like I said earlier, we have pinned a information sheet and a video step-by-step guide to the chat. They are available on our website, as are all of our toolkits and our information sheets under the resources tab. They will help you and support you through every stage of your long service or portable long service leave life. We have all of our webinars recorded, and this one will be recorded as well, and they're on our website. You can re-watch them at your own pace or your own time as well. We have a bunch of FAQs that we regularly review and update based on common themes that we're hearing. And finally, we've got a team of customer service officers and registration officers that can help you, that are only a phone call away or can respond to your emails. Just on the email space, we have got a backlog of a lot of emails at this point in time, and we are responding based on the date that they are being received. So please understand that we do have them. We have a lot of emails to respond to, and we are working our way through them. If you do have any concerns as to why you haven't heard from us, it's likely because we're working our way through the huge amount. But look, I would suggest you don't need to email us again. But if you wanted to, I'm not going to stop you. If you wanted to call us, I'm not going to stop you. But it is in the queue, and we are going to get to it. So please just ask for a bit of patience at this point in time, because of the amount of inquiries and emails that we are getting is, I would say, incredible, to be honest, but it is what it is. It's a new scheme. Everyone's trying to work out what they need to do, and we understand it, and we appreciate your patience. Really, that wraps up where I wanted to talk. You'll see a QR code on your screen. If you take a screenshot of that with your phone, you'll take you to our website, and I would suggest you bookmark that on your desktop. If you don't have a smartphone, there's the URL as well, which you can manually enter. We encourage you to follow us on our two social media platforms, so LinkedIn and Facebook. We post very regularly. I was going to use a different word, but we post a lot about the scheme. We post a lot about reminders, any news or any changes to what we're asking people to do. We post things about upcoming webinars and any sessions that help and support you through what you need to do. That's really it from my perspective. This is the normal time that I would bring Mandy back into the conversation, because she would have been busily talking to and answering questions on the chat. Mandy, how's everything looking?
Pretty quiet, actually.
Oh.
Yes, we would normally be talking about all the things I didn't get to answer, but actually we've done everything. So I think I did answer everyone's questions, but just reiterating, when you're an employer and you're filling in the claim approvals and it's going to ask you about the rate of pay for the worker, it's at the time of claim, not the 30 September value. It might be different to what it was on 30 September, and then the information on your state return might be different to what you put on the claim form. That's okay. We expect that to happen because they're calculated at different times. I do see James
got his hand up.
Oh, yes. With the quarterly reporting of earnings and weeks worked and all of that, if someone wants to apply for leave, that obviously, if you're 2 months into the quarter, there's 2 months worth of data that isn't there. So how does that impact things?
Yeah, so on your quarterly return, you don't report any weeks worked or remuneration for the time that the person is on portable long service leave. So if you are paying the worker directly for long service leave, that would be different. But if we've paid the worker, then don't put any of that on your return. And then you can tell us, the system will ask you to provide supporting documentation. If you have something to remind them that they're on portable long service leave, then put that on there. If you don't, that's cool. Just let us know.
Yeah, so what I mean is, at the moment, we've reported all the data up to the 31st of March. Mm-hmm. If the staff member today wants to go in and apply for leave in June, mm-hmm. there's obviously going to be April, May data that is not available to consider with their applying for long service leave.
Yeah, so at the moment, they're not going to be able to apply for that leave until it's been credited. So if they need that leave to be able to apply, they won't be able to do that. It is a pending issue that we're sort of trying to work around. But at the moment, that's how it will work, is if the leave is not available, they won't be able to claim it.
Okay, cool.
So what you're saying, Mandy, is they can't forecast what they're going to have in June because it's not available on the portal. Was that right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So even if it's in May and they're applying for it, then there's still going to be that April amount that they can't get, even though they have actually worked it.
Because the service only gets credited every 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Mandy, is there an option there where they can do a mid-cycle return to capture that data, or is that something that we don't encourage?
That is one of the things we're working through. It's technically available, but we've had a lot of backlash from employers not wanting to provide data for one worker twice. So that's why we're working through that from a policy perspective and how to manage that best.
So James, maybe take on board that is something that we're working on. But yeah, we're aware of it, and we'll try and do something about that as soon as we can.
Yeah. Also got a question around the termination side. So we've got a staff member who reached their 7 years in November. And then now last week they've resigned. So they've got their 7 years with us, so we'll have to pay that out. But do they need to apply for that through the scheme? I don't know if they're leaving the sector or not.
So effectively, you hold that balance until they claim it, and they will claim it through us. So if they are leaving the sector and they apply for a termination payment, then they will apply through us. We'll contact you and say, hey, they've applied. If they haven't applied through us and they want to continue on in the sector and don't claim that, then you just keep holding the provisions for it. With that particular worker, because they reached the 7 years after the scheme started, you just need to work out what the value was, so what their weekly rate of pay was at their time of termination versus how much you would have owed them, and that's going to be what your liability is. If you want to drop me an email, I can answer that one for you.
Cool. Thanks. So I guess the main thing was the staff was asking about, I guess, how they do it, how much of it can they get, and so effectively, if they're staying in the sector, they could get paid out for their pre-scheme portion. So they go through and do a claim payout type entry.
It will get a bit harder for them at 7 years though, because they're not entitled to a cash out claim if they haven't reached 10 years of service and they're not covered by an agreement that allows the earlier claim. So if they've got less than 10 but more than 7, they have an entitlement there, but they won't be able to claim it as a cash out. If they do leave the sector, they can claim that termination though.
Yeah, okay. All right, so they may need to wait another 3 years before they can claim their termination portion from us.
Yeah, I mean, the other option that you have,
everything they're entitled to it from us because they reached it.
Yeah, so the other option that you have is that the worker and the employer can agree to extinguish the liability, which means you pay them out everything directly. When you do that though, we do need you to fill in that form, and both the employer and worker need to sign that form and send it to us if you do make that agreement. And you need to provide us with the pay slips that show that you've paid out that money as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that is a different form, not to be confused with all these claim forms that we're talking about today. That is a different form called extinguished liability form.
Extinguished liability forms on our website. It's a PDF form. We're not intending to make that into an online form at the moment because obviously it needs to be signed by the employer and the worker, which is pretty difficult to do online. So yeah, it is going to remain as a PDF form. So you just need to complete it and submit it.
Cool. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, James. They're really good questions. Does anyone else have any other questions? Anyone willing to put their hand up? See a few shake of the heads there in the boardroom for Leanne. No one? Really important, I guess, for you to know that, this is all new to everyone. So we appreciate that there's a little bit of confusion or ambiguity around what you need to do. And I guess these sessions that we host hopefully provide a little bit of clarity. They might also prompt a few more things in your head that you're not 100% sure on. So again, our customer service team are available and ready to take your phone calls if you need to have anything clarified specific to your workplace. We do appreciate the fact that, like I said, this is all new to you, and essentially it is to us as well. So if there are times where we need to take on board your questions and come back to you at a later stage once we've found out ourselves, we'll just ask for a little bit of patience there. We're working as hard as we can to respond as quickly as possible. So we promise we'll come back to you, but we'll might need a little bit of time to be able to get the right answer for you.
I do just want to reiterate what Aaron said. It's been a really crazy time. We're really sorry about the delays in your emails, responses, and the same with the phones. We're having trouble keeping up with those as well, with the due date and of the return and the online claims coming in at the same time. We've just been pumped. So we are about a week behind on the emails. We're trying to catch up as best we can, but we really appreciate your patience while we sort of work through them all.
And it's not just me and Mandy answering the phone calls either. So we do we do have a team of 4 or 5 people, and we are resourced appropriately. It's just there's a lot on at the same time. So thank you very much for your patience in that. Look, if no one has any more questions, I might wrap it up, but I'll give you one last opportunity to put your hand up and ask, which no one is going to do, which is fine. I'll wrap it up. Thank you for attending today's session. I do have one more session, the same as today, which is next Wednesday. So if you have any colleagues or any, I guess, points of contact or anyone else that you think might benefit from attending, please ask them to complete the form on our Contact Us page on our website just to attend next Wednesday's session. I think it starts at 1 p.m. There's a lot to remember at the moment. So in the meantime as well, if you do have any questions that come to mind after we close out today, reach out. My number is always available for someone to call if you need any clarity. I would recommend you go through the customer service officers first. They have the ability to expertly capture all of your questions, whereas I'm a little bit more lax with keeping my data up to date, as Mandy would know. But I'll definitely be able to help you if you need it. Let's close out now. Thanks very much. Have a great rest of your Thursday and enjoy your weekend ahead. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.